Re-wife up to that level and share the same experience that he had with Robin.
Would have been nice if he communicated that back then.
The camera pans slowly across a courtroom brimming with restless energy. Every seat in the gallery is filled, the air thick with anticipation. Reporters hunch over their notepads, pens scratching furiously. The flash of cameras cuts through the tense atmosphere like lightning. The hum of whispered speculation swells, threatening to burst into chaos. Then sharp and commanding, the judge's gavel slams once against the block. The crack echoes against oak-paneled walls, demanding silence. This court is now in session, the judge announces, her voice firm, resonant. The case of the state versus Kody Brown. At the defendant's table, Kody Brown straightens his posture. His chin juts forward, jaw tense, eyes burning with a mix of defiance and unease. Beside him, Robin grips his arm tightly, her knuckles pale, her gaze darting anxiously toward the jury. Across the aisle, Christine and Janelle exchange hurried, hushed whispers. Their hands sifting through stacks of papers laid out like weapons, ready for battle. A few seats away, Meri sits alone, arms folded tightly across her chest, her face an unreadable mask. Once the first wife, the anchor of the family, now reduced to little more than a witness in the unfolding storm. The prosecutor rises first. Tall, broad-shouldered, his very presence commands the room. His voice slices through the thick silence like a blade. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is about more than just one man. This is about the law broken in full view of the public for years. A wave of gasps ripples through the gallery. The prosecutor strides confidently to the jury box, slamming a heavy binder onto the lectern with deliberate force. He opens it wide, revealing rows of documents and records. Kody Brown didn't merely overlook the law, he declares. He mocked it. He ridiculed it on national television. He flaunted his disregard for it proudly, daring the world to watch. Cameras flash again, the murmurs in the room growing louder. Kody's attorney rises slowly, adjusting his tie with calm precision. His movements are deliberate, his voice controlled and smooth, like a bomb against the stormy energy in the courtroom. This case, Your Honor, is not one of crime. He begins, addressing the jury with a steady gaze. It is about freedom. The freedom of faith. The freedom of choice. What my client created was not a crime scene, it was a family. A family that may not look like yours, but one that was built out of love, not criminal intent. The jury leans in, several nodding faintly. For a moment, it feels as if Kody might walk away unscathed. But then Christine rises. Her attorney presses a folder into her trembling hands. She clutches it tightly, knuckles white, but her voice when she speaks is steady. Your Honor, these are documents Kody kept from us, clandestine bank transfers, hidden accounts. He wasn't building a family. He was building an empire. His empire. The courtroom erupts into gasps and whispers. The judge's gavel bangs against the block, demanding order. Kody's attorney shoots back immediately. Your Honor, those papers are irrelevant. This is a marriage case, not a financial one. The judge arches a brow, her tone sharp. On the contrary, counselor, if control of finances was used to manipulate or coerce his wives, then it may go directly to motive. The evidence will be admitted. For the first time, Kody's mask falters. Beads of sweat glisten on his temple. His fingers twitch against the polished wood of the defense table. The cocky confidence that once defined him is cracking. The gavel comes down once more, its thunder reverberating through the charged room. Reporters crane their necks, scribbling faster, their pens tearing across the pages. The gallery hums with barely restrained energy. The prosecutor calls Christine to the stand. She rises, her folder clutched tightly against her chest, her movements deliberate but weighted. The bailiff swears her in, her voice quivering only slightly as she says, "I do." She sits, exhales deeply, and fixes her gaze on the prosecutor. "Mrs. Brown," he begins gently, "you were married to the defendant for more than 25 years. Is that correct?" "Yes," she answers, her voice quiet, but the word lingers in the room like a stone dropped into still water. "And during those years, did you feel free within your marriage?" Christine pauses, lips pressed tightly together. Her eyes well with unshed tears. Finally, she speaks. I thought I was free, but it wasn't freedom. It was control. The room gasps. Kody jerks violently in his seat, his hand gripping the table, knuckles white. The prosecutor leans closer. Control, Mrs. Brown? Can you explain what you mean? Christine swallows, her voice firming. He made all the decisions, money, homes, moves. We smiled for the cameras, but behind closed doors, he dictated everything. He kept us in line. Objection. Kody's attorney leaps to his feet. Speculation. Emotional opinion, not fact. Sustained in part, the judge warns. Mrs. Brown, keep your answers to factual evidence. Christine nods quickly, flipping open the folder in her lap. She hands several documents to the bailiff, who passes them to the judge. Her hands tremble, but her voice steadies. Then, here are the facts. Bank transfers. Secret accounts. Money funneled into his name alone. The judge scans the first page, her eyes narrowing. The prosecutor's voice booms. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not the portrait of a selfless husband. This is a paper trail of a man constructing a kingdom where only he held the power. The gallery explodes into whispers. Hidden accounts. Someone hisses. Flashbulbs burst, reporters scribbling furiously. Kody's attorney is on his feet again, crisp and sharp. Your Honor, these records are immaterial. This trial is about marriage statutes, not bank statements. The judge cuts him off. If finances were used as a tool of control, then they are indeed material. The evidence will remain. Kody mutters angrily, his face red, his composure slipping further. Robin clutches his arm tighter, whispering frantically, "They don't believe her. We're still winning." But Kody doesn't reply. His eyes flicker toward the jury, reading the doubt etched in their faces. The prosecutor steps forward again. Mrs. Brown, can you describe the purpose of these accounts? Christine breathes deeply, her voice gaining strength. They were used to move family money into accounts none of us had access to. Not me, not Janelle, not Meri, not even Robin. Only him. The jurors exchange uneasy glances, some scribbling notes. The weight of her testimony hangs heavy in the room. Christine leans forward now, her voice ringing out with newfound resolve. He wasn't building a family. He was constructing a kingdom where only he reigned. The silence that follows is deafening. The defense attorney stands, pacing deliberately, letting the tension stretch before he speaks. Mrs. Brown, you divorced Mr. Brown nearly 2 years ago, correct? Yes, she replies firmly. And in those 2 years, have you spoken publicly against him? Interviews. Appearances. A book contract? Christine stiffens. Yes, I have. So the lawyer presses, his tone razor sharp. Isn't it true that your financial freedom now depends on portraying my client as a villain? The gallery stirs, whispers rippling. Christine's cheeks flush, anger warring with shame. She slams her hand against the stand. This isn't about money. It's about the truth. The defense attorney swivels smoothly back to the jury, his voice calm and measured. The truth or another tale. The judge raises her gavel. Enough. Step down, Mrs. Brown. We will recess for 15 minutes. The gavel cracks down, releasing the room into chaos. Reporters rush for the doors. Jurors whisper among themselves. The gallery erupts into chatter. Christine storms past Kody without so much as a glance. Kody leans back, trembling hands clenched tightly, his attorney murmuring reassurances. But the jury has seen the cracks. The trial has barely begun, yet already the balance is shifting. When court reconvenes, the atmosphere is heavier still. Reporters stand ready, pens hovering. The jury files back in, eyes sharp with suspicion. Christine retakes the stand, steadier now. She is no longer just a wife scorned. She is a witness ready to dismantle the empire Kody spent decades building. The prosecutor steps forward, voice calm but commanding. Mrs. Brown, you testified earlier about secret accounts. Could you tell us specifically what those accounts were used for? Christine opens another folder, her voice unwavering. They were used to move family money into private accounts that only Kody controlled. None of us had access. It was always him, only him. The weight of her words crashes into the courtroom like a wave. Kody stiffens, his mask of control unraveling as the truth settles heavily over the room. The battle has only just begun, but for the first time, it is clear. The man who once strutted proudly before television cameras is cornered. His empire trembling, the world watching as it threatens to collapse around him. Trembling, the world watching as it threatens to collapse around him.
To tell her finally that it was never going to happen.
I had a commitment to marriage when I married.
The courtroom was hushed, every creak of the benches magnified in the silence. Christine Brown sat firmly in the witness chair, her posture straight, her expression sharp. She nodded once, then pointed toward the bailiff, who moved with practiced precision, collecting a thick stack of papers. The judge's eyes narrowed as the documents were handed over. Pages rustled, the sound filling the still air like a storm approaching. The prosecutor turned to the jury, his tone crisp and deliberate. Ladies and gentlemen, what you are holding in your hands are bank statements. These statements reveal deposits from family earnings book contracts, reality television paychecks, speaking engagements. But the destination of those funds is singular. They went into accounts controlled solely by Kody Brown. A murmur rippled across the room. Jurors leaned forward, eyes narrowing, pens ready. Christine's gaze hardened. He told us it was for the good of the family, she said, her voice trembling at first, then rising with conviction. He insisted he had to control the money so it wouldn't be wasted. But when bills went unpaid, when children needed essentials, when I begged for help, those funds were already gone. Gone, spent on things none of us had a say in. Her words lingered. She looked toward Kody, who shifted in his seat, tugging at his tie, his discomfort clear. The prosecutor inclined his head respectfully. Thank you, Mrs. Brown. No further questions. Christine leaned back, her face set with equal parts exhaustion and defiance. But the relief was short-lived. The defense attorney rose smoothly, buttoning his jacket, his movements deliberate and calm. His smile was soft, almost sympathetic, but his eyes gleamed with sharp intent. Mrs. Brown, he began gently, you've been through a difficult divorce. That much is evident. Pain can cloud memory, can't it? Christine stiffened. My memory is fine. Of course, he replied smoothly. But tell me, during your marriage, did you not benefit from the very funds you're criticizing today? The homes you lived in? The meals on your table? The holidays you took were? Those not all provided through these same accounts. Her voice grew harder. Yes, but we didn't know the truth. We didn't know what he was hiding. The defense attorney walked slowly across the floor, his steps deliberate, each one designed to command attention. Mrs. Brown, did Mr. Brown ever deny your family? A roof, food, education for your children? Christine's jaw tightened. He provided the minimum, but he made every decision. He kept us powerless. The lawyer tilted his head, feigning comprehension, then pivoted sharply. And yet, you stayed married for more than 25 years? You bore his children? Filmed a television show with him, traveled, smiled for the cameras. Tell us, Mrs. Brown, were you dishonest then, or are you dishonest now? Gasps echoed through the gallery. Christine's face flushed red with fury, her voice rising like fire. I stayed because I believed in the family, because I thought it would get better. But it was a lie I could no longer live in. The room vibrated with her outburst. Reporters scribbled furiously. The defense attorney let the silence stretch, her words hanging like a thundercloud over the room. Then, with a soft smile, he murmured, no further questions. For a moment, the scales seemed to tip back toward Kody. The defense had struck a nerve. But the prosecutor wasn't finished. He rose, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. Mrs. Brown, why after 25 years did you finally leave? Christine dabbed at a tear, then steadied her voice. Because I realized it was never about love. It was about control. He didn't want wives. He wanted followers. and I couldn't let my children believe that was normal. The jury watched her intently, their faces grim. The balance swung sharply again, this time against Kody. The judge leaned forward, her voice crisp and commanding. "Mr. Brown, you will remain silent until spoken to. Do you understand?" Kody gave a stiff nod, his chest rising and falling with suppressed rage. The prosecutor turned to the bailiff. "Call Janelle Brown to the stand." A commotion swept through the courtroom as Janelle stood. She moved quickly, her expression calm but her eyes resolute. After being sworn in, she faced the jury, her voice firm. "Yes, I was the second wife," she said without hesitation. "And financially, how were decisions made during your marriage?" "By him," she answered sharply. "Always by him. He told us how much we could spend, where we would live, when we would move. He claimed it was for the good of the family, but the truth was always for his benefit." The prosecutor raised an eyebrow. "Did you ever question him?" "Yes, often, but he'd dismiss me. He'd say I didn't understand leadership, faith, or loyalty. And when I pushed too hard, he turned us against each other. He gave one wife favor, then withdrew it, keeping us divided. That's how he maintained control."